Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a concept that drives millions of us, financial freedom. But we're going to look at it through the eyes of writer and investor Lee Shao Lai, who basically argues that most of us are chasing a ghost, a goal we haven't even defined correctly. So let's get into it and redefine that finish line. The whole journey really starts with this one simple but kind of shocking question. What if that finish line you've been sprinting towards your whole life is in the wrong place entirely? The source material says that if you don't have a crystal clear, correct definition of your goal, you're just a fly buzzing around a room. You might be flapping your wings like crazy, but you're not actually going anywhere.
So first things first, we have to bust the central myth here. We need to redefine the destination itself. Because if we get this part wrong, every single step we take, no matter how hard we work, could actually be leading us further away from what we really want.
Okay, so this slide just perfectly lays out the big conflict. On the left, you've got the dream that's sold to us, right? Get a pile of money and you can just stop. It's the end of the road. But the source argues this view is a total trap. It makes you hate what you're doing right now. The other view on the right is that financial freedom isn't the final destination. It's a milestone. It's a critical checkpoint on a much, much longer journey.
Let's get really precise with this definition, because it matters. Notice what's at the very heart of it. It's not money, it's time. Financial freedom isn't about having $1 billion in the bank. It's about getting to a point where the money your assets make covers your basic needs. That's it. It frees you from having to trade your life, your precious time, for a paycheck.
And this is where it all clicks into place. The goal isn't to hit some magic number and then spend the rest of your life on a beach. That's a dangerous fantasy that makes your current work feel pointless. The real prize, the real goal, is to earn the freedom to focus on what actually matters, your own continuous personal growth. Getting financially free is just the start of the race, not the end.
Okay, so if the goal is to stop selling our time, what resource do we really need to be collecting? We're always told it's money, or maybe it's time itself. But our source for this explainer says, nope, both of those are secondary. There is one asset that you own that is more valuable than anything else in the world.
And there it is, attention. Think about it. Your attention is the one and only resource you can truly control and aim at something to create value. Time, it just passes, whether you use it or not. Money, you can lose it and make it back. But where you choose to place your attention, that determines the entire output of your life. It is the raw material for everything you want to build.
But here's the problem. We live in a world that is basically an attention-stealing machine. The source points to these three massive black holes where our attention just gets completely wasted. We get sucked into online drama and spectacles. We anxiously chase the latest hot trend without doing any real work. And we burn up all our mental energy obsessing about other people's lives. Things that have absolutely zero to do with our own growth.
I mean, just let that sink in for a second. It's a pretty stark warning. If you let your attention get sucked up for free by social media, by ads, by outrage, you're literally giving away the key ingredient for building wealth. In this view, poverty isn't just about not having money. It's the end result of having your most precious resource drained away, leaving you with nothing left to build with.
So, how do we protect our attention and actually use it? Well, willpower isn't going to cut it. We need to fundamentally change the way we think. The source suggests we need to perform an upgrade on our mental operating system by questioning the beliefs that we just assume are true.
Let's start with a really big one. We are all taught to chase security, right? A stable job, a guaranteed paycheck, a life with no surprises. But what if that hunt for absolute 100% safety is the very thing that's holding you back? What if it's a trap?
This is so important. Real growth requires risk. Not being reckless, but being willing to make a calculated trade, giving up a little bit of your comfort now for a much bigger opportunity later. The source uses this cool analogy of an animal with 360-degree vision. It's totally secure because it can see everything at once, but because of that, it can never focus on one thing long enough to develop a complex brain. You have to give up a little security to gain the focus needed to evolve. So how do we actually do this OS upgrade? The main tool is something called metacognition. It sounds fancy, but all it really means is thinking about your thinking. It's the ability to step outside your own head and look at your thoughts and ask, wait, Why do I believe that? Is that belief actually helping me? Where did I even get it from? This is the master skill that lets you uninstall bad programming and install powerful new mental models.
Now this brings us to one of the most powerful mindset models in the whole source, a totally new way to think about competition. See, most of us see success as a one-dimensional race, right? To be the absolute best at one thing. But there's a much, much smarter way to play the game.
Just look at the difference here. It's huge. On the left, you've got the single-skilled person. They might be a 95 out of 100, but man, that is a crowded, bloody fight to the top. But on the right, you have the multi-skilled person. They aren't the best at any one thing. They're just pretty good, a 70 out of 100 at 3 different things. But by combining those skills, they create this unique, solid cube of value that almost no one else has.
And that's the big takeaway. Stop competing on length, trying to be a tiny bit better than the next person in a single line. Instead, start adding new dimensions to what you can do. Combine your skills. Maybe it's writing plus marketing plus basic video editing. You build a volume of value that makes you uniquely powerful and carves out a space where you're the only one competing.
All right, for our final section, we are going to challenge another one of those virtues we're all taught to admire: persistence. We're told to just keep going, grit your teeth, push through the pain. But what if needing to persist is actually a sign that you're already losing?
I know. It's a pretty wild idea, right? But the argument is that if a task requires persistence or willpower, it means that on some level, your brain does not want to do it. You're fighting yourself. It's like trying to drive a car with the handbrake on. Yeah, you might move forward, but it's this ugly, inefficient, miserable struggle. So what's the alternative? Well, it's not about finding an easier goal. It's about taking a hard, worthwhile goal and then consciously, deliberately giving it profound personal meaning. So instead of, I have to learn to code, it becomes, learning to code will let me build tools that can help thousands of people. You see? That completely reframes the whole thing. And this, right here, is the ultimate shift. You move from a state where you're forcing yourself through misery to a state where you're being pulled forward by this incredible sense of purpose. When you give an action a big enough why, you don't need to be pushed. You become a force of nature. You become unstoppable. So we'll end by bringing it all back home, to you. We've talked about redefining freedom, valuing your attention, upgrading your mental models, but that upgrade always starts with identifying the old buggy code. So I'll leave you with this question. What's one limiting belief you're holding on to that after hearing all this, you realize it might just be time to drag to the trash?